The Food Bank of the Rockies is adding emergency food distributions this weekend for federal employees and their families who are not getting their paychecks during the shutdown. Listen, there is no shame in asking for help if you need it. There is plenty of shame for the people in Washington who would rather force families into food banks than lose an argument. Now, I don't care which team you're on or how you feel about the wall thing. Federal employees work for us. They are paid with our tax dollars, and the people who are in charge of the paychecks are so petty that they have created an emergency that has created the need for emergency food distributions in Colorado. You wouldn't do that to people who work for you. You would not do that to your own family, force them to go hungry just so you can get your way in an argument. It's beyond petty. It's just cruel. So thank you to the Food Bank of the Rockies for stepping up. Thank you to everyone who donated to 9 Cares Colorado Shares. That restocked their shelves not long ago. And if you would like the specific information on when and where the emergency food distributions are happening, we have those on 9news.com.